Divine greetings, entities, energies, lovelies, bodies of light, the seekers and sojourners of truth, the 144, chosen of the chosen of the chosen few. You know who you are, right? All the third degree chosen ones. I greet you in the love that lights the truth from my heart to yours. I'm Akilahtextri, in the divine energy essence of it all, reporting to you live from none other than 5D, 5D consciousness. Speaking of this expanded consciousness, I want to really tap into that, right? Speaking to you as celestial earth that I am. I am that I am. From the celestials to the earth, from the divine to the earth, here I am. So with that, as usual, I bring you the news to infuse. If you so choose to infuse with this light grid activation. So let's activate up on this light grid, right? And those who don't, prepare to get fried every time something happens and you touch that grid, because you're not going through the mesh of the grid. You know, when you think of a grid, you think of those, you know, crosses, and you're not going through in the grid. So you're like clashing with the grid. So you're getting fried, right? That's if you do not infuse. But for those who infuse, we don't got nothing to worry about, right? So with that said, any housekeeping, I want to remind us, before I get into this topic here, I want to remind us, any reminders. First and foremost, please remember to like, subscribe, share, comment if you dare. Notification, hit that notification button if you want to be notified every time a message comes through. When I come through with my angles of light, you know, through my light transmissions, right? And as some may call it, they're angels of light, but I understand the angles. So I understand the light language. And for those who do understand how to hear the light language, see the light language, however you take it in, you know, your insight, do what we do. So calendar. I want to jump into the topic, but it's like, remember, let's get this out. So the calendars are still here. I've made some adjustments. I've, you know, let someone send some messages out today. So I've made some adjustments on the calendar that are going to be very helpful to those of us who are transitioning into 5D, coming out of the constraints of, you know, the old paradigm, the matrix, whatever you want to call it. A lot of us are going to need help to do that, right? We don't just jump out like that. So it's little steps, baby steps, which is why I'm doing this topic even today, because I see a certain urgency towards the next level, right? No doomsday type stuff. I'm not with a doomsday fear mongering. However, there is a certain urgency on the way that we are transiting, right, through this next phase and stage in this 5D, you know, transit. So with that said, with that out the way, the detox to detach, you still have time to join if you have not. We're going to strictly move into it in the following week. So after Sunday is when I will probably be locking it off. So if it's still something that you're interested in, I literally just signed somebody up today. So welcome. And if you're interested, you have from now till Sunday, because then we'll be going into the strict part of the detox for the next 2 weeks. So with that said, welcome aboard, choo-choo, to the Polar Express, or the 5D Express. As I say that, this topic, let's get in. This topic is about the beast mode. Let me make sure I go to spirit in this, right? Make sure, well, spirit is always with me, but I really want to make sure I don't forget anything. I don't have my notes with me. This was not something that I had notes or that I even sat down and wrote. It's just, it came to me through a picture, and I'm going to share that with you all. But it's about beast mode, being trapped in beast mode, and in the times, you know, due to the colonization of the mind, because these are those times right now. So I want to speak on that, so we are aware, how does that affect us, those of us who are in 5D, and those of us who are really doing our work in 5D. It really doesn't in that way. You just keep doing what you do. You keep living the love that lights the truth, and walking in that frequency and keep evolving and keep ascending in your soul's ascension. Especially if you're doing your shadow work, your soul work, you're excavating the old stuff. You are all about detaching. If you are all about detaching and throwing out the old, and I'm not saying throw out the baby with the bathwater. I'm saying with wisdom. Those of us who are using it with wisdom, knowing what to throw away, but being wise enough to throw away what really needs to be thrown away, right? Not making excuses of still attaching to things in the old paradigm and just renaming things. I'm going to, talk about that because I see a lot of that going on. So the being trapped in beast mode, let me explain the picture that I saw first. That it's like as soon as I saw that picture, the information just came. It's like, oh, I see what's happening. And it's not even something new for me, to be honest. It's something that I already saw, let's say around 2020, when I was getting shown some things already. It just reconnected me to that, and it showed it to me on a newer level. It was like a reminder for me. So I'm utilizing this time, using this reminder to share with you. For those of you who didn't know me in 220, when I spoke about it with who did know me, right? So I saw an image of, what was the split image? On one side of the image, it was like I think it was the whole campaign, not the campaign, the picture of the presidents, right? The politicians. It was a picture of them. I don't remember what it said on that side. But then on the other side, it was this image of a person. It looks like AI or something like that. It was a person with 666 on their forehead, and then it said 2030, right? At the top of it, it said 2030, and the image of the 666. And it might have said something else, but that's what stood out to me, where the image just grabbed me and it was reminding me, oh snap, 2030, we got 10 years, right? And well, it's not 10 years anymore. When I first said this brings me back to when I first saw that we had 10 years. There's a 10-year plan. There's a 10-year agenda. 2020 is when it first hit me, and then I realized we have 10 years to get our ish together, right? 10 years of knowing, and I didn't even know what I know now, right? There's definitely more information I have now than what I had in 2020. Definitely a lot more downloads that clarifies a lot and allows me to move in the way that I move through this 5D expansion in the way that I do, with peace of mind, with ease. It's not really that hard for me to detach because I've been aware of the detachment. And I said this in 2020. I said if people don't start practicing detaching, it's going to become a culture shock. It's going to be like a culture shock. It has to be something that we prepare ourselves with. You're not just going to wake up one day and stop doing something that you've been doing for 10, 20, 15, 30, 40 years for some people, if you've been doing it all your life, right? So these are the times where we're giving the opportunity to practice detachment. I didn't say detachment back in 2020, but that's definitely is so evident that this is what it is right now. Right? There's no coincidence that I'm doing the Detox to Detach program right now, in such a timely manner and space. Why am I saying it's so timely? It's in a space where, excuse, you might hear some music in the background. It's in a timely space, meaning in the space of reset. Right, we're in this reset space with the new moon Cancer. I spoke about it in my other video. So at this time of reset, utilizing this time of reset while we're in that Capricorn window, right, that is asking for responsibility. Like we're in that window that's saying get your ish together, which is the responsibility. So this is an opportune time to work on detaching. I don't find it a coincidence. Nothing is a coincidence. Nothing is an accident or coincidence. So it's very synchronistic that we are doing this detox to detach in this window, in this Capricorn full moon, Capricorn window. So I say that to say, go back to my point of detaching. We're being called to detach from old things, old habits, as I said before. There may be things that we have to eat, old foods, right? Right now, some people's bodies are making them change their diet. And they don't even know why. They have no clue. It has more to do with these frequencies than you think, right? And they just think, oh, I got sick and I couldn't, due to my illness and da-da-da-da-da. whatever you want to call it, but it's the frequencies and it's the body is telling you now it's time to shift gears. It's time to do something different. A lot of us are being arrested in our bodies, right? The body is like seizing up on you, like you can't eat this no more. So foods have to change. The way you do things, not just foods, old behaviors, right? Old habits. Remember, habits make behaviors and behaviors make your character. So in order for your character to change, in order for your consciousness to change, right? Let me start from there. In order for you to expand your consciousness, it means your consciousness has to change. In order for your consciousness to change, your character has to change. And in order for your character to change, your behaviors have to change. And in order for your behavior to change, your habits have to change. So this is why the detaching is very important, because you have to detach from the habits, the habitual ways that we've been doing things. So I saw this in 2020 and I said, we got about 10 years to know what you want to do, where you want to be. This, for me, this was the Exodus plan. And I was going to do a video about Exodus. That reminds me, I need to do that as well, to talk to us about the Exodus in so many ways, on so many levels, not just physically leaving, but the Exodus out of the places in our minds that we, hold. So, excuse me, hiccup and at the same time. So we're being asked to, there's a time that we have to know, thank you, Spirit. There's a time that we have to know where we want to be, what we're doing, all of that. And I saw that we had about 10 years to do it. And I saw that we had 5 years. In between, it's like halfway through. By 5 years, you need to have something planned, right? If you're not where you're gonna be in 10 years, some people have just up and moved, or up and doing life differently. If you haven't already done that, or it's time to start, right? We're at the 5-year mark. We're halfway there. And I said that within 5 years, I'm going to be ready to be where I need to be, which I'm working on right now. Like within the next 2 years, I'm probably not going to be where I am right now. The location may definitely change quickly. You have to know where you want to be, what you're going to do. So we have to start making actions, action steps. So if you're not already planning, it's time to make plans on what is realistically a place that you can live in and be in with your family in this new paradigm. For some people, they have to shift to another paradigm. And I'm speaking on so many levels. For some people, it may be take into account of where you live, right? And I'm speaking especially to the spiritual elites, especially to the third degree, the chosen of the chosen of the chosen few. And you've been doing that work. You're the pioneers of 5D. And if you've been pioneering, it is time to pay attention to what is going on around you, because things are going to be drastically changing. And I mean geologically as well. So look at your geological locations, because you need to be out of the way of where there's going to be, let's say, geological things happening, right? The earth is moving, it's doing its thing, and there are going to be some geological changes. Some are going to be natural, and some are definitely going to be man-made, right? Some are going to be, what do they call it? Man-enhanced, right? Or they're going to be dealing with natural disasters or whatever, but it's going to be enhanced by man, by man's design. So be mindful of that, right? I don't want to say too much. I could really go in on this, but I'm just throwing blues clues out for whoever could catch it. Just pay attention and know where you are. I'm not going to give any specific locations. I'm not going to, because I'm doing my best to stay where I can still give information and not be a threat. Like, I'm already under the radar. Like, I don't have no big following, no major platform for me to be a threat in the first place, but I'm speaking to those selected few who are tuned in and who are meant to hear the message. Yeah, it's time to make that move right now, baby. So start planning things like that, right? So with that said, right, again, no doom and gloom, just being mindful, using wisdom and intuition. Look at the locations that you're at, and look at the locations that are going to be drastically changing. If you don't know, look up things like the map of Edgar Cayce, right? The map of Edgar Cayce is it's an ancient prophecies video I watched a long time ago, from like maybe in the 80s, 90s. there's a world map. Like, you could probably Google that world map right about now, because I've seen it made by different people, but I know how to go to the Edgar Casey Ancient Prophecies map type of thing. So use that. That's my clue to look at where you want to be. With that said, the 666. Okay, let me get into that. The 666 mark, most people call it the mark of the beast, and this is why I said being trapped in beast mode. Let me get into this right now. What I saw in that image when I saw 2030, and I was like, oh, by 2030, if we don't do what we're supposed to do, some are going to be, I'm not even gonna say some of us, because it won't be me. Some are going to be trapped in beast mode. And when I say trap, it doesn't mean you can never get out. But the reason why I say trap is because it's going to be damn near impossible. It's going to be hard. Think about it. If it's already hard right now for a lot of people to change their lifestyles, change their minds, change their perspectives, a lot of people are suffering simply because they refuse to change their perspective. My people suffer. They perish for a lack of knowledge, right? Is what Yeshua said. My people perish for a lack of knowledge. People suffer because they choose to walk in ignorance, because ignorance is bliss. And that's fine if that's where they want to be. But this is what I'm saying. This is to the degree in which they will be trapped. You will be trapped because you choose to, because you choose not to turn over, right? And so by 2030, you're going to be trapped by beast mode. And that's exactly what I saw when I saw that. I said, boom, 666, mark of the beast. But it doesn't scare me in that way, like how people, oh, the mark of the beast, the devil. No. The 666 just means that's who you are. We, as human, as carbon body, we're the beast. It just means this is who you are. Six protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. Though some of you may already know that. If you're the type to listen to what I'm talking about, I'm pretty sure most of you already know that, right? The 666 is just that. It's our makeup. It's our carbon body makeup, which means it's just letting you know that you are the beast, right? You already are the beast. It's the mark that lets you know you are the beast. But here's the flip, why they call it the mark of the beast, because at some point they are going to mark you as that beast, meaning you're going to be trapped. If you're trapped in that, you are marked by being the beast, because most of us are going to be transiting, changing, exalting, if you will, into our light bodies. We're going from carbon-based bodies into crystalline light bodies, right? We're moving through different stages of our bodies. There's different stages of the light bodies. It's not just boom, light body, right? There's a crystalline light body, and then there's even a purer light form, light body. But we're going to be going to the crystalline light body. So those who are shifting and moving into those bodies, that's why for some of you, you can't eat the things you used to eat. Your carbon body is now, you're changing from that. Your molecular structure is changing. So you can no longer take in certain foods, you know, the processed foods or whatever. Everybody's body is different. You may look at someone else who's elevating and evolving and think, well, they still eat that. Everybody's bodies are different. For whatever reason, your body cannot tolerate this particular thing anymore, because there's something that those foods were speaking to your body. Foods are information, and our foods are very tainted, right? The foods we get out of the supermarket, including your vegetables. So don't think because you eat fruits and vegetables it makes you any safer, because they are also tainting the fruits and vegetables heavily right now. So if you're not growing your own foods, this is where it's at now. If you're not growing your own foods, right? And I'm not saying it like I got mine's all grown. I'm moving towards it, but I'm not there either. I still, you know, go to the grocery store and get most of my foods, right? The things I have in my backyard are mainly herbs. Like, I don't buy certain type of seasons. I don't buy like herbs. I just don't buy teas. Like teas, I don't buy that at all. All my tea is in my backyard, right? But if you're not growing your own foods, it's not the foods that are best for you, and your body will tell you that, right? But this is not about foods. This is really seeing how we're going to be, some will be trapped in that 666 beast mode is what I saw. So by 2030, if you're not moving in the direction, in the love that lights the truth, if you're not shaking the things that you need to shake, if you're not detaching, this is why right now we're almost there at 2025, right? We're in the 5-year mark. And so we're halfway there, and this is where we should definitely be making some radical changes towards what the next 5 years are going to lead us to and prepare us for. And we're definitely going to see a split. I'm pretty sure those of you are already seeing it. There's a big split between the two worlds, 3D and 5D. There's a huge split. And a lot of us are seeing it more and more. By 2030, you're going to definitely see the split that much more. It's going to be so obvious, and it's not going to be what people think, right? It's not like, oh, 3D is going to be over here, 5D, so we're going to be intertwined. It's going to be it's going to be two different worlds, but always also understand this, it's like worlds within worlds, right? Within the two worlds, there are going to be many worlds within that world. What do I mean by that? Everybody that's in 5D is not in the same world, right? And I've said this before. There are tiers. There are levels. Even within 3D, there are levels. You have the real basic 3D people that's at the lowest levels, and you have the higher, 3D people. Maybe they're more aware, they're more conscious, but they're not quite, they have not transitioned into 4D or 5D. So they're more at the higher levels of 3D. So but they live in that, that 3D paradigm. Those who are in 5D are really pulling themselves out of the matrix. If you are expanded, if you have expanded your consciousness into the 5D expansion, in the expansion mansion, then you are pretty much, I want to say, you're out of the matrix. You have practiced detachment, and you have moved, so you were able to cross timeline after timeline. You're crossing your own dimensional timelines within yourself, and now you're in a timeline where you exist in the 5D expansion within the earth. Therefore, we're more compatible with the 5D new earth, and you're able to live a more fruitful, rich, wealthy, happy life, even though you may not have the materials. I want us to get this straight. Don't get it twisted. You may not have the materials that the 3D people have, because 5D is not 3D. 5D's riches is not 3D's riches. And I'm not saying that means you got to be poor either. That doesn't mean, well, you're only over in 5D if you're poor. It's not like that either. But there's a perspective, right? There's a certain level of consciousness to have. And so we can't look at that either to say what the status is, but it is knowing that you have no attachment to the 3D paradigms. That's how you're going to see the difference. For example, traditions, holidays, things like that, we are detaching from. And I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. There's no way you're going to be fully in 5D and still carrying the matrix stuff into 5D. The old paradigms, right? Because those holidays hold the old paradigms. They hold the reverence of the old paradigms. So we can't carry that into 5D. So it is going to involve a huge letting go of. So if we haven't practiced, like I said, detaching, changing perspectives, how you value material. I'm going to say material because we just left the Iron Age. The Iron Age, or the Kali Yuga age, whatever you want to call it, has to do with material. We have left that age, and we're now ascending through the yugas, and we're now in the Iron Age. Yep, the Iron Age. And that is energy, right? And so it's all about moving from the material to more of an energy base. So we can't be fixed on the material. So things that represent the material, we can't hold on to that and bring that over. So that's what I mean by knowing where you're going to clearly see the separation. So the warning, why I'm saying this is the warning that I was getting, is that if we don't detach, you're going to be trapped in beast mode. Right? That's exactly how I saw it. Beast mode, 666. Again, not that 666 is the devil, but you're going to be trapped in your carbon-based body, beast mode, and not elevating into the crystalline light bodies, and only trapped because it's going to be even harder for you. There are things that are going to happen that by 2030, they have an agenda. And that's why I saw in that other picture the two presidents or whatever, because there's an agenda. There's a reason why I saw 10 years in 2020, because in 10 years, as that was a warning from the divine and through the ethers, like it's like a twofold of the 10 years. Like, while we need to know what we should be doing in 10 years, they have a 10-year agenda. That's what I wanted to say. There's a twofold 10-year agenda, right? There's a divine agenda that we should have, that we should know for what we are doing for ourselves within 10 years. And that doesn't mean in 10 years, boom, this is where 5D is going to be. Boom, 10 years, here we are, 5D. It's not going to be that clean cut, that clear cut. It's going to be years before we see the evidence of 5D. Some of us might not be here anymore, but we are definitely pioneering that transition. But we would definitely see a big difference in 2030. So while we should be having a 10-year agenda, please know they have an agenda. They have a 10-year agenda. So they are doing things to keep you trapped in that mode. And when I say they, I mean the database, because they're just puppets of that, what I call the database energy. Those of you who know me know that opposition, that parasitic energy. Yeah, that, right? They know what they're doing, and there's an agenda set for all of you who choose not to, for all of those, let me not say you, I don't want to put that on nobody, I snatch that back. For all those who choose not to infuse with the light and continue to hold their old paradigms. So the main thing that I see is we need to get in there, in here. We need to get in there. Get in there. Yeah. That's what I'm hearing in my head. Wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble. Shake it out. Wobble it out. We need to get in there, and we need to detach, right? Remember, the biggest block of the crown chakra is ego attachment. The egos are attached. And please know this. I found myself saying this earlier. The egos are attached, and it wants to bring, it's attached to the old shit and wants to bring the bullshit into the new shit. That's exactly how I saw it, right? It's not going to happen. It wants to drag that into the new. And it just don't work like that. That's what I was going to say earlier. When you're shifting timelines, those of us, if there's certain timelines that we will not be able to cross, it would be like hitting a brick wall. It'll be like when a bird flies into a clear glass, right? You think you getting through, and then you hit this glass energetically, right? And what makes you get blocked are the things that you don't drop. Let me say that again. What makes you get blocked are the things you don't drop. If you don't drop, which means let go, then you will, that's another example of getting fried on the grid, and you cannot go. And you cannot fool the energy. Like I said, we're in an energy space right now. We're not in the material, we're in the energy. Everything is answered in energy. So you could say all that you want, you could do all you want, but if you're not in your true being, authentically letting go of what must needs be let go, out of your paradox, out of your paradigm, out of your mind, you cannot pass go, right? Do not pass go. Do not go straight to jail. Do not collect your money. Do not pass go, right? That's how I see it. There will be a block, right? And that is how some will end up trapped in beast mode. And it's due to you and what you choose not to let go. So I'm saying this because I see it. Don't get caught up with these elections. Don't get caught up with these fake promises. This is something I've been saying. I don't do these elections. I don't do anything in the world like that. I don't do these holidays, holy days, any of that. And let me say this, because I see a lot of this going on too. You cannot take these days and I know some people, they may think they can outsmart the energy and be like, oh, I don't do this day no more. I call it this, right? And it's different from what I'm doing with the calendars. This is why what I'm putting in the calendars is to help people on those holidays that are distractions, to give you helping tools to do something else. What we should be doing on those holidays is cancel. Control, Alt, delete, Cancel whatever you got to do. We're supposed to be canceling the old and implementing the truth. The truth and what is, you know, the new truth, which is not really that new, but it's new to you because you've been doing something else, right? So it's to help us cancel, ultimately cancel. There is no carrying the holiday over and saying, oh, we're gonna do this, but we're gonna call it something else, right? It's not just about calling it something else. If you're still doing the same things of that tradition, for example, we just had 4th of July. If you're still buying the fireworks and having the bar, all of that that pertains to that tradition, you are a part of that collective. So, and I'm simply being honest, not ruffling nobody's feathers, but if it got ruffled, then there's something you need to look at. But it is not to, you won't be able to just simply come out, how do I say it? You just can't plaster it with something else. It's as simple as that. You're not going to be able to call it something else and say, well, I don't really do that. It's just because of, you know, family and friends. And no. If family and friends do not want to do their soul work, then that's just that they got to do their own work. It's not for you to come together and still bring yourself down on these days, because this is a collective consciousness, and you feed into that collective consciousness and you pull yourself back down into that collective consciousness. So in order to expand your consciousness, you cannot contract, right? We want to live in the expansion, not the contraction, which is ultimately what we're going to see happening when these worlds split. There's going to be people living in the expansion of 5D, and there are people that are going to be living in the contracting within the 3D paradigm, right? And so the holidays are a part of that. I use this as an example to share so that we can see. Yeah, there's no playing with it. There's no playing with it for me. And if you say you do it for the children, then you're not teaching your children. You're not helping your children expand into 5D, right? My children, I teach them something different. Every year we implement the truth, and that is how I detach them, right? We talk about the truth of these days, because these days came from something, right? It's utilize it as a time to do your historical. We're in the age of information, right? So let's use it wisely. Do your research, right? Share that knowledge with them. Sit with your families and be like, you know what? This is what this day originally came from. When they know the truth, they won't want nothing to do with that day, right? When I share the truth with my children, if they realize it, especially if you're teaching them principles, if they don't have no integrity and no principles, they're not going to care. But if you're teaching them principles and integrity, and you teach them, you tell them the truth, inform them of the truth, they will not have any concern for getting rid of that day, that holiday, holy day. So giving it another name and calling it something, I don't know, holy unto you, it's kind of like when people discovered, my melanated people, when you discovered Jesus is not white, right? So it's like all of that information was used to put you in bondage. But then you use the same information, you go, oh, I do it differently because my Jesus is black, right? Because I paint him black, so now it means something different. You're still under the bondage of that, you know, not knocking anybody. I'm speaking to my people who know what they are. You're still under the bondage of that, you know, religion, so to speak, that religion that is keeping you bound. That's an example of what I mean by being trapped in beast mode. If we really have to answer this call and this reset time right now in whatever way you can. Look into your life, world, and affairs, and look where there need to be some radical changes. So radical responsibility, accountability, right? Holding yourself accountable to the things that you need to, being really brutally honest with yourself, like doing that deep soul work so that you're not trapped in beast mode, because it's going to get harder. After 2030, it's going to be the distractions are going to be even thicker. Their 10-year agenda will have been fixed. From 2020, they've been having an agenda. From 2020 to 2030, it's going to be fixed, and you're either going to be here or there. You're either going to be in expanded 5D, or you're going to be in the contractions of 3D. It's one or the other. And it's going to be really hard to get out if you have not gotten out yet already. If you're not practicing. I mean, if you got 1 foot in, 1 foot, hey, you do the hokey pokey, shake yourself about. I got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. At least that's better than nothing. At least start trying to, I don't even like to say try, because as my daughter says, tryers are for liars. At least start doing and being in that truth, those truth principles, finding out what they are. Do everything you can to break your habits, to break your behaviors, to break your character, so that you can expand in your consciousness, right? So I really felt that I have to share that so we understand that, understand, overstand, and understand, and know that this is all due to the colonization of the mind, right? Before I close out, I had to point that out because I saw that as I was speaking about this, and we recorded it because I believe but that's why I didn't write anything, because we recorded when I was getting the download. We just recorded it, and I was asked certain questions that I was able to answer, and that's what I'm remembering is what I'm answering to you. I probably should have listened back to the recording and write some stuff down, but that's how I know. I was asked what would it look like, and that's how I knew it's not going to be like that. I was saying in one of the answers, it's not going to be like what we think, right? And it doesn't mean that people are trapped there forever as what they were showing me. It's like, no, it's just going to be very difficult if you haven't already practiced the detachments and how to get out. And it's not going to be a line and some over here, some over there. We're all spread out around the globe, and we're going to be living in our 5D world, but in different worlds, depending on how we all live, right? Some of us will find our soul family and we'll know who we are, right? But I say all of that to also remind us before I go that this is decolonizing. We need to decolonize, because this is the colonization of the mind, right? This is the next level. The next level is colonization of the mind. And when I say next level, I'm not talking about next level as in it's going to happen in the future or it's coming up. It's already happening now. It already has been happening, right? The colonization of the mind has been happening for quite some time. And so it's for us to really look at it now and understand that your minds are being colonized at a massive level. That's why I said, I believe in the last video, speaking about the distractions at a volume. The volume is turned up on distractions, and the minds are being colonized in such at a rapid pace and in a massive way. It's like mass colonization, especially because we have the phones, we have social media. Children's minds are being warped. This is why we have to practice taking our children off. And I know a lot of people find this hard to do. We have to take them off of the electronics, spending time off. I'm not saying forever, but at least have 1 day a week where there is no electronics. At least have a season. I went a whole season with no electronics in our house. The whole respiriting season, winter season, was no electronics for those 3 months, and we meant it. And sometimes the families need that. In this day and age, we need to be able to detach. How are you going to exist should something happen? Let me paint this example. This is what makes a difference. Thank you, Spirit. While they're colonizing our minds, they're having us dependent on certain things. So when they flip the script, when they hit the switch, I just flipped the switch, click, click. Remember that song? And that's what was happening in 2020. Yeah, that song gonna be replaying again in 2030, probably in a different way, but we're gonna see there's gonna be a switch that is flipped. And there's going to be a time where something happens where if you can't live, the switch is going to be, they're probably going to turn off certain things, or either way you're going to have to be able to live without. And if you can't, you're going to be trapped in beast mode, because you're going to feel that you have to depend on them. So I say that because as I was speaking about the technology, if you don't practice doing without some things, when they cut something, and it'll probably be technology by that time, because we're more and more dependent on technology as time goes on, and faster, at a faster pace. So when it gets to 2030, if they just cut something and it cancels, whatever it is, and people can't do without that, they're going to panic and they're going to subside on beast mode side. Some people who may be 1 foot out without no strong base, if something gets cut from them, they're going to draw back into beast mode and be like, oh no, I need this because I've been cut. But here's the difference for those in 5D who are really practicing, and there goes the snail again, who have really been practicing detaching. You will be able to, what's the word? When they cut something, it's going to be like, okay, because you've practiced doing without. That's going to make the difference. This is why detaching is so important. It does not mean you have to cut everything off cold turkey. It simply means practice detaching in the mind. Practice taking your mind off of the dependent state of it in whatever way you may be. You may say, well, I'm not dependent. You may be lying to yourself. You got to really practice a detachment to see how dependent you really aren't or are. Right? And I know this snail is giving me a sign, so I'm just going to say it. Go at your pace. That's what I'm seeing. Like, move at your own pace. But in no time, by the time you look, you'll be where you're supposed to be. It's not a rush. It's not a race, right? Just take your time and start to decline. Decline. You know how when your car don't work, decline. We need to decline these 3D distractions, the holidays, all of that. Decline. I no longer subscribe to that. Like some people may no longer subscribe to me when I know a lot of people don't like what I'm saying. Like, I know that. That's why I know Spirit will show me you won't have those type of followers. It's going to always be small for me because people want to hear what they want to hear. They still want to be fed their food, and I'm not here to feed you the folly. That's not what I'm here for. Not this lighthouse, right? I'm always going to highlight the truth of what must needs be done. I'm not here to make anybody comfortable. So if you're looking for comfort, yeah, those will be the ones that be like, she on some other stuff. People want to be comfortable in their stuff. They want to get their information and they want to so-called elevate, but they want to be able to carry their stuff with them. And it doesn't work like that. It's not going to work like that. You're not going to be able to cross that timeline. I don't care how much information you get. You can climb like this, but you'll never be able to cross over. You're going to just be going up and up instead of cross, elevate, cross over, elevate some more, cross over until you eventually get into 5D fully, right? So I'm going to leave it there. Let me not go any further. I may have to do a part 2, but that's what came up for me, and I've said let me share that with you. It is urgent, it's important. Please utilize this time, this reset time, to practice some form of detaching while we're in the Capricorn windows of responsibility and accountability to help you detach and detox from some things, right? Take that however it resonates with you and begin your next journey. We got 5 more years to 2030, so if you didn't already start, get the cracking. All right, with that said, I love you all as usual. Thank you for those who comment. Continue to comment, like, subscribe, share, comment if you dare, leave some emojis. With this one, I would say leave the emojis of the 666, because we coming out of that. Or you might want to leave light if you speak about light bodies. You might want to put X to the 666 and light. That's where we move into, right? Leaving beast mode and going into the Christ, I was gonna say the Christ. It is Christ consciousness, but the crystalline bodies, crystalline light bodies, right? So get into your God bodies, get into your goddess bodies and your God bodies, right? In a very light way. Anything else? Reminders, get your calendars at a 5D corner near you. Come see me. You know what to do. And that's it. Living the love that lights the truth. With all that said, each one reach one, teach one. If you don't know where to start in your big beautiful heart. Shine your light from the inside out and be the candle that lights the next one and the next one and the next one. Peace, love, and light.